So I'm really pumped to chat with you. Today I'm talking with Marcos. Marcos is a good friend of mine. And Marcos is going to talk to us about what happens when you need to pivot, or how to know if you even need to pivot in the first place, and how that whole pivoting process works. And so Marcos is the founder of YouRoam. YouRoam is a tech startup that allows you to take your personal cell phone and turn it into a business line. So you can add a business phone number, business line to your personal phone number. And what's really interesting to me is that YouRoam used to be a B2C company and is now shifting a little bit to focus a little bit more on their customers being businesses instead of customers, right? Is that right? Do I have that right, Marcos?
That's
Okay.
correct. That's perfect. Yeah.
And you guys have had, though, so many customers, like 600,000 customers individually using the app. And you're making this crazy decision to focus on businesses, which feels from the outside, right, seems crazy. But I think for you and the business, it makes a ton of sense to pivot. And so I just wanted to hear that story from you. And we can kick off with that. Like, why are you pivoting? Have you already pivoted, or are you in the thick of it? And why are you pivoting?
Yeah. We're in the thick of it right now. And Tara, it's so great to talk to you. I'm very excited for all you've done with Apps Without Code and all your webinars. So
Oh,
super
thank
excited to
you.
help you and love the success that you've had. But we, as you said, we launched business to C, the consumers. And the point of the app was out of a frustration that I had of traveling abroad and coming back to a $500 cell phone bill because of roaming and long distance, and being so frustrated and annoyed that this was 2013. You shouldn't be paying that kind of money to be, traveling around. And so I looked around, and of course there were the Skypes of the world and WhatsApps
Mhm.
allowing you to make phone calls, but none of them retained your actual phone number. So I wanted a solution that people would call your regular US number and it would ring all over the world for free. And then when you called them back, it was your regular caller ID that showed up. So everybody knew it was you and they wouldn't avoid your calls. And we
Cool.
launched, and about 2 years ago, it just started taking off. And we were having between 1,000 and 1,500 downloads per day. And people throughout the world, 200 countries, were using the applications.
That's
And
crazy.
yeah, and the thing about starting a company like this, you never really know how people will use it. You create something with one intention, which for us was when you travel abroad, you can make and receive calls. And then people were using it because they had iPads and iPod touches that weren't connected to a cell phone plan, but they wanted to make phone calls for a home phone or for a school phone for the kids. Then people were using it when they ran out of cell phone minutes and they just needed a couple more days to get by and didn't want to, pay up the entire
Mhm.
month for a new cell phone plan. So they would just use this, at the end of the month. People were using it when in countries as their primary source of phone calls. Oftentimes, we were much cheaper than the typical carrier if you're, let's
Yeah.
say, calling from Cancun to Mexico City. In other parts of the world, that's a long distance call, where in the United States, it's all free, it's all unlimited.
Yeah.
But in other countries, we were much, much cheaper. So even though we had vanity success, I call it,
Right.
which is we had big numbers, 600,000, 200 countries, a lot of downloads, a lot of usage, revenue wasn't following with the usage numbers. And so we had to take a really hard look. Okay, first we tried changing how the pricing was structured. We
Okay.
changed we changed from charging a couple cents a minute to charging a subscription plan. So you paid $5, $10, $20, depending on how much you use your phone when you're abroad or when you're in the States.
What would you recommend people do? Because a lot of the folks that I talk to who are non-technical entrepreneurs are earlier stage. They're in that like first six
Hmm.
months or first year of what you would, how you would outline your journey. And some of them are already thinking about like, maybe I need to pivot, or like maybe I need to switch this up. So